Long queues have started surfacing in the many parts of the country. From Lagos, Kano and Abuja, findings by Daily Trust indicated that many filling stations are not dispensing, while the few dispensing are experiencing long queues. In Kano State, for instance, commuters have started groaning as commercial transport fares has again been increased due to the hike in fuel price. Now, the signs of fuel scarcity, which started a few days ago, is becoming imminent as many filling stations in the state have closed down and the pump price has gone up. The product is now going between 640 naira per litre to 660 naira, as against the initial 615 naira to 620 naira. This morning, we'll be taking a look at subsidy removal as it affects the pricing of the petroleum products and its effect on Nigerians. We'll have joining us via Zoom Charles Asiegbu, who is a researcher, policy analyst, and development practitioner and Bridge Fellow of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak this morning, Charles.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So just before we come back to you, let's take a look at this background as put together by Kehinde Amodu.
It has been very difficult for Nigerians to adjust to the removal of fuel subsidy. So when they see queues returning to some petrol stations, they get alarmed. But the group CEO of the NNPCL believes there is no cause to worry.
There is no challenge. Supply is robust. We have over 1.4 billion liters of product in our hands, both marine and land. And also that there are no issues around delivery of those products into the land. So there is no fear, nothing to bother about.
So why are there queues at some fueling stations?
There are a number of blockages on our road, crossing products from the southern depots into the northern part of the country. And it takes a much longer time than they do now. They have to reroute the trucks around many locations for them to be able to reach. And that created delays, and that created some supply gap, but that has been filled, and we do not see any of such problems again.
Kyari insists that the petroleum sector is fully deregulated, which is why petroleum marketers are now pricing their products competitively.
The full deregulation that we have in this sector, marketers are now competing amongst themselves. So one, you must have noticed some fuel stations will reduce price by 2 naira and 3 naira, so customers will naturally run to the places where you have that reduction in prices. But we're also happy that the market forces are now playing out and marketers are competing. And of course, there are a few issues we're engaging them to resolve alongside other agencies of government.
The most important question to answer is if fuel subsidy has returned through the back door.
I told you there is no subsidy whatsoever. We are recovering our full cost from the products that we import. We sell to the market. We understand why the marketers are unable to import. We hope that they do this very quick, and this is some of the intervention government is doing. There's no subsidy.
While government struggles to stabilize fuel pricing, the NNPCL Group CEO admits that the task would be a lot easier if there is a stable foreign exchange market. From State House, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
All right. Thank you for that report, Kehinde Amodu. Now, Mr. Charles, I'm sure you've watched that report with us as well, and Nigerians are pretty much confused, if you like, at this point, because in one breath we see that the global crude oil price is much higher than it was when the fuel was first increased to 520 or thereabout, and now we're talking about 600 plus. So it appears that when Pengasin, for instance, says government has started paying subsidy, the NNPC boss says no, government is not paying any subsidy. Who do we believe really?
Okay, so it is a very difficult situation we have found ourselves in. The president, I think the president came out to call off the payment of subsidy to show strong will and show that he is interested in changing the trajectory of our economy. But I don't expect it to come without its difficulties, and that's why the government has to show seriousness in tackling the issues. When the president pronounced the removal of fuel subsidy, it was expected that every form of economic framework, policy, action that is required to make the process smooth was going to be deployed, especially in managing the conflicts ongoing between the oil marketers and the NNPC. But from what we have seen, it's as though the president called it off and the necessary action wasn't taken. So the Pengassan is saying that given the increase in oil prices from $80 per barrel to about $93 per barrel, that it has affected the prices of fuel and crude and to affect the price of fuel. So if there is an increase in price, that it should be expected. And he also blamed the exchange rate, the fluctuation in the dollar price, for this challenge. So if the GMD of NNPC is saying that the market forces are working, then we cannot as well say that the Pengassan is correct to make these claims. But what I think this is going to cause is going to deepen the level of mistrust between the citizens and the government. So there's a lot of controversy around, the credibility of the government and those in charge. What this will do is to make people begin to perceive the government as being unaccountable, as not being responsible, and it's not a good thing for the government. Another aspect of this whole thing is that we have not seen, the government, make reasonable moves to cut the cost of governance. We keep seeing people appointed and all of that. I mean, the government, the president needs all the support he can get, but we have not really seen, the government trying to save some of our resources on their part. And this is what is going to exacerbate the challenge. The Port Harcourt refinery and all other refineries are currently refurbished and rebuilt to be able to serve our purpose. I think the government should really hasten their efforts in revamping these refineries and ensure that they cascade down the information, that people understand that efforts are being made in that regard. However, there's a need for the government to really sit with the marketers and iron out these issues and be clear about their stand.
Okay, Charles. There's a lot of misinformation right now going around. Do you think that perhaps the claims, or I would say some of the reports that we saw saying that government has resumed payment of subsidy, has any correlation with the new pricing that we're seeing in filling stations? We've seen some selling at 625, and so on.
Yes, I like I said before, I feel the main problem is the inability of the government to partner or align accurately with the oil marketers. So the oil marketers are saying something different and the government is saying something different. I am not sure that should be the case. Before now, the oil marketers have come to say that the fuel prices at 600 is even low, and that it is that way because the government is paying some percentage of the fuel subsidy. So what it meant was that the government wasn't paying in full anymore, that they had reduced it and they were paying small, and that's why we are getting fuel at 600 naira per liter, 600 naira. So after that, nothing was said about those claims, and then we are now seeing, from the reports that the government is paying fully or is actually paying these subsidies, and it negates the president's claim that we have been able to save about $1 billion plus from the stop of paying for subsidy. So the challenge I see is the non-alignment. The government and the marketers should be on one page. I don't know how the government will do it, but they need to drive this process since they have come out to say that they are removing subsidy. Whether they are still paying subsidy or not, I think accountability is a big issue that the government should not toy with at this point.
Okay, so Mr. Asiegbu, the NNPCL has said that they have become the sole importer of petrol the petrol, since private companies cannot access foreign currency due to shortages or shortage of the dollar in circulation right now. So we've heard a lot of things from the NNPCL. We've heard so many excuses why we're having this resurfacing of the queues, or we are having difference in prices. What can you make of all of this? Is any of their excuses or any of the statement anything to go by?
Yes, so it's nothing to go by, because what is on ground, the reality on ground does not reflect their claims. The NNPC, as of today, we cannot hold them for their word, because the GMD and the team at the NNPC is saying something else, and we are seeing a different thing on ground. So, and that is why I keep hammering on the need for accountability. The system is already polarized. People are suffering. You know, there's a slow rate of economic growth. There's poverty increase, insecurity. All of these are propelled, you know, partly by the issues we are facing with the increase in fuel price. And at this point, we cannot afford, you know, I mean, we are not the government. I mean, we are not NNPC. So if they come out to say something, is the closest we can get. But when their pronouncements do not match the realities on ground, it puts a lot of question mark on their credibility, and that is why I also think there's a need to ensure that the public is informed of the true situation of things, because I must tell you, we are chronic adjusters in this country. 2 weeks after the fuel subsidy was removed, we saw that a lot of cars were not on the street. People were trying to adjust, but then after some time, you know, we saw the cars back on the street. People are living as if nothing is bad, but we demand some level of accountability and truthfulness from NNPC. We cannot speak on their behalf. They can say something, and then we cannot really decipher if it is true or a lie. But what is true to us, what is key to us, is that the realities on ground are not funny. The fuel queues are not funny.
Okay, Charles.
The increase in price, is not funny.
Okay, Charles, doesn't it make sense, the statement by the NNPC GMD that GCO now, I believe, that one of the reasons why we see the queues resurfacing in some parts of the country is because of the bad road network that we have. Some of the fuel tankers supplying the northern part of the country from the southern part of the country are passing through very bad road networks, and which is why we're seeing that there's a challenge with the supply of the product. Does that make sense to you?
It doesn't make sense to me, because at one point, did we stop having bad roads in the country? Did we just start having bad roads this month? I was hoping to hear flooding, but I mean, if you say we have bad roads, we always had bad roads. Our transportation system is not top notch. These challenges have been there pre-colonial and post-colonial. And coming to say that there are hiccups and there's a supply challenge, and that is what is causing the current problem, then I mean, we're not stupid. From his comments, you see that there's a level of there's some form of false confirmations from him. You cannot say that there are bad roads and there's a supply challenge, and that is why we are having the current challenge, when these issues have existed over time. So for me, I don't feel that excuse was enough. It does not explain. If you say that there are bad roads, could he give us specific roads where these issues are? If you say they rerouted them from one section of the country to the other so that they're able to transport fuel, could he have? I was expecting him to mention the specific roads or give us like 2 or 3 examples, so that it's not vague, and and then we're able to say, okay, if a truth is a problem. And if you give us the exact places, people can go and verify. So I think there's a whole lot.
Anyway, when we talk about road network in Nigeria, we all know that some of the roads are definitely bad, especially the one close to us here. I think the Mina network the Mina Road, the federal roads linking to Abuja. Many petrol tankers have complained at that road. But that aside, one of the things that we expected deregulation to do for us was supposed to allow independent marketers import fuel on their own terms. And now that the NNPCL has restored the status quo as the sole importer now, it shows that the country is back to this regime of fuel subsidy. Because if we're to go with the international trend, we know that fuel will be at the pump price will be around 1,000, maybe 800 or thereabout, which already we are seeing some fuel station selling at that price as at this morning. Have we been able to achieve this aim, or we're just testing the waters, as some people will say?
Yes, I mean, you asked the question and kind of answered it. We are testing the waters and we are not sure about it, and that's why I started by saying that the president had to go ahead to say, okay, we are removing this thing, to show strong will and show his commitment to driving, the country to economic growth. But it is expected that all what will be needed to ensure that the words match, there's action that match the word is put in place, so that we don't have all of these problems and it doesn't look like the administration is bereft of ideas to solve the problems. So one other thing I like to point out is that given the war ongoing between Israel and Palestine, it is projected that there will be an increase in the global price of crude. So how is Nigeria prepared? How are we preparing to benefit from that windfall? I'm not sure we are prepared. So I think, like I said before, and I'll say it again, there's a whole lot that is ununderstood, and it is confusing a lot of what it is making us lose trust. Our perceptions about the government's sincerity is dropping every day, because the government doesn't seem to show credibility and show that they're on top of the situation, and it's a big challenge. So what I'll say is, NNPC can say whatever they want to say, but the realities do not show that they really understand the challenges, or they are working towards solving it efficiently.
Okay. All right. I recall that at some point when there were speculations about the increase in fuel price, the NNPC will debunk. Even the spokesman of the president, the presidency, at some point said that the president has decided that the price of fuel will not go beyond 615 that we were buying at the time. And even though he didn't quite explain what exactly that will mean, whether there will be a partial payment of the subsidy or not, with the current prices now, is it safe to say that we are under partial subsidy payment?
It is safe if a Nigerian says that we are fully paying subsidy. I wouldn't argue. If you say that we are fully paying subsidy and not just partially, we are paying it fully, I wouldn't argue, because the reality is clear. People are buying at
paying fully. Shouldn't it reflect? If you say we are paying fully, shouldn't it reflect in the price of the fuel? Shouldn't we be buying fuel at the rate at which we were buying before?
Yes, and that's why I say there's a whole lot in terms of sincerity. So I've seen a lot of arguments, both online and offline. People saying that the government is actually paying the subsidy, but the true reflection is not actually reflecting as it should. That they are paying subsidy so that the fuel will not get to 1,000, and the subsidy is not supposed to bring it down beyond 600. So there are a lot of theories going on, flying left and right, and the government needs to, come out clearly to tell us what is really going on. There's a whole lot of explanation. I mean, I said this before, the government has tried to sell the idea that the removal of fuel subsidy and the increase to 600 naira it was a short-term challenge. The poverty, the stress, the inflation is a short-term challenge that everybody should bear, and it will all change in the future.
Okay,
So,
Mr.
but the way
Charles,
it is going now,
you've talked about
it doesn't look like.
sincerity, and it's now bringing out some kind of, it's prickling my curiosity now at this point. You have a problem with the government denying the fact that they are paying fuel subsidy. Now, we know that this has pushed a lot of Nigerians into economic hardship. I mean, the removal of fuel subsidy. And just like Ayuba said, the government said it will not go beyond 615 naira or the 600 or thereabout benchmark for Nigerians. On the defense of the government, don't you think that it's like a mother taking all of the pain for her child and not wanting the child to know about it? And again, if we pay subsidy, maybe partial payment of subsidy, what does this mean for the Nigerian economy? Is there anything that we're going to lose at the end of the day?
Yes, we have. I mean, with the removal of subsidy, we are supposed to save at least 7 trillion a year, and that fund is supposed to go into infrastructure, to healthcare, to create jobs in the manufacturing, to support manufacturers to create jobs, and all of that. So if you're saying that the removal will do all of this and you're true to your word, then Nigerians are already trying to adjust, like I said before. But however, you cannot say one thing and then we are seeing another thing. If you just confirmed rightly that they are saying that it will not go above 600 naira, and then suddenly you're seeing 615, 625, and then you're also coming to also tell us that it's as a result of the market forces. So I mean, there's a lot of explanation to be done. This is not working. The approach so far is not working. It's not giving us the desired results. And I'm not sure how long we can wait for the government. I'm not sure how long more we can wait and manage the way things are going. I'm not sure.
So what do you think is the way forward now? Now that we're seeing resurgence of queues in fuel stations, and NNPCL is giving a lot of excuses, and the Nigerians have to go through all of this untold hardship just to live by. As an economist, what do you think we should do as citizens, and then the government, what should they be doing at this point?
So I think one good step would be to first, I mean, you see that the special advisor to the president is saying one thing and the GMG of NNPC is saying one thing. So I don't know if it's misinformation, but there's a need to harmonize and control the government's way or source of disseminating information. The government, if the special advisor to the government, the president is saying something, it should tally with what the GMD is saying. There should be one accurate source of information. That is one way to get it right first. Let's even know where to hold the government, right? And then I feel there's a mismatch. I feel there's call it non-alignment, in the activities of both the government and the oil marketers. There's a need for them to continuously engage. They need to find the ground. There should be a way out to solve the confusion. That's what I see it as. There's a confusion between the government and the oil marketers. The oil marketers are saying A, the government is saying B. The government is coming back to say A, the oil marketers are saying B. So there's a need for them to, sit down and iron these issues out and solve the problems that we are facing in Nigeria. If you're saying that you're removing the subsidy and the fuel, the exact amount, the projected amount is 900 naira, it's good to start saying the truth now. If you're saying you just removed some part of the subsidy and you're still paying 60% and what we are going to be working with is 600 naira, you need to come out clear. The government needs to come out clear. The oil marketers need to come out clear. And then another way to go about this, what I think the government should be doing is to show sincerity on their part, is to begin to look for ways to cut down on the cost of governance. If there are ministers who are supposed to use 3 cars in their convoy, you can reduce it to 1 or 2 and make it clear. Let people see that efforts are genuinely made to reduce the cost of governance, so that if you are carrying the load and the burden, as citizens, we are seeing that the government and our leaders are also making, their own kind of adjustments. So I think there is a need for a proper synergy between the government and the oil marketers, and I think they really need to control the way they disseminate or share information concerning the removal of this fuel subsidy.
All right, Charles. Thank you so much. Charles Asiegbu, a researcher, policy analyst, and development practitioner, also Bridge Fellow of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. We appreciate you and thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning and sharing your insight.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. All
right. So now we'll be taking a look at another report while we take this breath. I'm still talking about the fuel subsidy removal. Since the implementation of the fuel subsidy removal, residents, especially drivers and travelers, have been facing difficulties occasioned by the increase in the price of PMS, popularly called Petrol. In this report, Kabir Lawal speaks with operators of different parks in the FCT and brings us their take on this. Take a look.
The removal of fuel subsidy has made transportation costs to increase, a situation most residents consider as unfortunate. The National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW in Abuja, says it has been receiving complaints from passengers on the continued increase in transportation fares, adding that parks have also been affected.
Affecting is just a small gram damaged business. So since it removed the subsidy, all things are not the same. The places they normally go, that kind, 12,000 naira or 12 or 15, have raised to, I can say, double. So it affects business, it affects economy, cost of living. Way be of 18, we normally collect something of 5,000 naira, has gone up to 10,000 naira.
Things have already changed in the park and not the way it used to be. We are not finding it funny at all. Whenever we tell travelers the cost of transportation, they will just change their mind and most of them go back to their houses. It is rather unfortunate for us now, and we beg the people in government to come to our aid. Drivers on their part further explain that aside the increase of PMS, prices of spare parts have also increased due to the removal of fuel subsidy in the country.
Passenger now, even we take them, we tell them see the money we carry, then we say, why be so? We say na fuel, then we send to consult them, and then know how we go do. We go press ourselves to carry them like that, because we don't know how we go do. If we leave them, then we'll still suffer, then we'll run go house.
Passengers at the park also complain that the transportation fares keep increasing, a situation they said is unfortunate.
It has really been bad, really, because I'm a student and we used to take it before at the rate of 1,005, 2,000 naira. But now I have to pay 5,500 just to go to Kogi. That is just, it's not about to 3 hours.
The money I am using now for my transport fares is not encouraging. I used to buy my wares at a very low price, but now it has gone up and has actually affected my sale. Times are hard, and we are calling on the government to do the needful.
Both drivers and passengers are calling on the government to do the needful to enable businesses thrive in the country. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV, and of course we're still analyzing and talking about the fuel subsidy removal and the resultant effect. Now we're seeing a reintroduction or resurgence of queues in fuel stations, and it's really disturbing. That's why I said I feel like it's superhuman this morning. When I had to queue for fuel yesterday, I didn't get, and then luckily for me this morning driving to work, I saw a fuel station that was dispensing, and I got fuel, but not at the normal price. But yeah, I'm happy that I got fuel, and they're making it to work at the same time. So I feel like a superhuman.
Hopefully, we'll see some kind of stability in the coming days, in the next coming days, as far as this issue of fuel is concerned. You know, the thing with the oil and gas sector, the petroleum sector, is that just a little information can destabilize everything. Once, you know, because somehow I feel like it runs on speculation. You know, so when at the moment people just notice anything or just see something that looks like, you know, scarcity, or maybe
that's when you know Nigerians are very observant.
You know, so it leads to all this, and that's when we begin to see the cues that we are seeing right now in the country. And that's why, from what the guest said, that it's very important that the federal government, the marketers and the spokespersons of the government are all in sync and give information appropriately as at when due, so that it will do away with all these speculations and reduce the confusion in that regard.